Picture this for a second. Your mentor looks you dead in the eyes and he says, I wish you ample doses of pain and suffering. Most people would sprint the other direction. But that's exactly what Jensen, the founder of NVIDIA, says. And the crazy part is that he means it.
People with very high expectations have very low resilience. And unfortunately, resilience matters in success. I don't know how to teach it to you except for I hope suffering happens to you. You want greatness out of them. And greatness is not intelligence. Greatness comes from character. And character is informed out of smart people. It's formed out of people who suffered. For all of you Stanford students, I wish upon you ample doses of pain and suffering.
He says it over and over. He says greatness comes from character, and character isn't formed from smart people. It's formed from people who suffered. That's not motivational nonsense. That's the operating system behind a company that started in a Denny's booth and became worth multiple trillions of dollars. And more importantly, it turned into the engine powering the entire AI revolution. Now, I've spent hundreds of hours learning from this man. Not the hype, but the psychology behind how he thinks. And in this video, I'm breaking down the 7 hardest hitting lessons that he lives by. And most of these are the teachings that other founders can't stomach. And the last one is gonna hit so hard that it's gonna surprise you. But here's the deal. If you can't actually take these in, write them down and absorb them, then it's not for you. This is for people who wanna build a real lasting business, something that survives over time. So lesson number 1, he says, teach or die. So this is something that most founders never figure out. If you can't teach your own vision, you can't scale your vision. It's simple as that. Jensen understood this early. He spends most of his day teaching, not managing, not delegating, but teaching. He's on his whiteboard like he's possessed. And there's a reason for it. That whiteboard doesn't lie. The second you're forced to draw your idea out, all the lazy thinking shows up, the gaps, the shortcuts, every little lie that you've been telling yourself, it's all right up there in ink. And here's the punch that most founders miss. Your business starts dying the moment your own people can't explain what you're actually building. Steve Jobs used to have an elevator test. He used to get in an elevator with an employee, they'd press a floor, and he'd ask him what he's working on at Apple. And again, this is rumor, but if the employee didn't have a good response, he'd get fired by the time he got to the floor that he was going to. So everyone's got to be in lockstep, and explaining and teaching is leading because clarity is power. Your team shouldn't sound like employees. They should all have a shared vision, a shared rhythm, and speak the language of the company. That's the company's DNA. And this is if it's a big or small company, it doesn't matter, okay? That's why Jensen teaches obsessively. It's not ego and it's not control. It's because he fears one thing more than competition, and that's lesson 2. Complacency kills the enemy within. Every business has a hidden killer, and it's almost never the one that people obsess over, which is competitors. And it's not the economy, it's not even AI, it's comfort. The quiet little voice that whispers, you're gonna be fine, take your foot off the gas. Jensen hates that voice. He runs NVIDIA like a startup. He's got one mantra he drills into himself and his people. He says, complacency kills. And here's the crazy part. This man built NVIDIA into a global multi-trillion-dollar powerhouse, and he still wakes up, looks himself in the mirror, and he says, you suck. And that sounds harsh at first, but the logic behind it is true. Because if he doesn't tear himself down, then the market will. Those analysts are not friendly on those earnings calls. And the market has never lost a fight. So if you're celebrating some tiny win, you're already slipping. If you're still proud of something that you shipped last quarter, or God forbid last year, you're way behind. And if you're comfortable, even for a moment, someone else out there is gonna be building the thing that replaces you. Steve Jobs had the best take on this. He said, make something great and then forget it. Go make something great again. No nostalgia, no victory laps, just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. And most founders forget this part. But you're not just a founder. You're the shield between your company and complacency. You keep the vision, and the second you drop your guard, that's when the rot in the entire organization starts to set in. So the real question is, how does Jensen run a giant organization without letting that rot creep in? Now, he tells you himself, but his answer is wild. And that's lesson 3. Flat to the bone, 60 direct reports. So most CEOs, they build layers of management. Jensen doesn't. He builds for speed. He said publicly he has about 60 direct reports, just 60. And for context, NVIDIA has about 36,000 employees right now. That's globally. But he doesn't have all these middle management layers. And they're not whispering in his ear all the time. He runs NVIDIA like an F1 race car. You touch the wheel and the whole thing moves wherever direction you put it down. So why should you care about that? Well, if you're even in a small business and you don't even have 60 people on your payroll, it's the same principles that apply. Slow decision-making is a silent assassin of early stage companies. Beginners think success comes from being smart or experienced, but it doesn't. Your biggest weapon, the one that gets you to the next level, is always speed in every single industry. Let me give you a real example. If you're running a 4-person startup building an AI tool or a SaaS tool, and then one customer emails you and you says, hey, this is confusing. I don't know how to make this work in your product. Don't form a committee. Don't schedule an appointment on your calendar for a week away. No, get on the phone with the customer right then and ship a hot patch or a quick fix to the problem. Email the customer back lightning fast and say, try it now. That's how you win in today's economy. If you're running an agency business or another SMB, it's the same rule. If a client keeps asking the same question, don't build a new department. Record a 2-minute video to new staff in your customer service team and explain it. Instead, turn it into an SOP and move fast. Stay light. That's the secret Jensen teaches. And here's the thing that most founders hate hearing. Great people will actually leave you if you slow down. They'd rather sprint somewhere than drown in bottlenecks. So here's the real question. How does Jensen enforce that level of speed at such a massive company? His method is one of the wildest ideas in Silicon Valley, and that's lesson 4. It's called speed of light execution. There's something most founders never even consider, and that's measuring your work against physics, not people. Jensen calls it the speed of light rule, and honestly, it hits different once you understand it. Every project gets broken down into simple, clean tasks, and there's nothing fancy. Each one gets a timeline, not based on how long the team thinks it'll take, but on how fast it could be done if physics was the only law you're up against. That means no endless meetings, no management layers of approval, and no realistic deadlines. Just one question. What's the fastest this is physically possible? That's a line that Jensen uses, and he uses it to judge his own progress. We judge ourselves against the speed of light, not against other companies, is what he says. That's not competition. That's how he built NVIDIA. That's saying we're not trying to win the old game. We're building a new one. If you're early on in your journey, here's what you can do to apply this principle. Stop comparing yourself to your competitors or to other humans. Compare yourself to your potential. Most people try to beat average. Winners try to beat the best version of themselves. That's the identity shift right now. You're not in this game to be normal. You're here to build something that's inevitable. But keep in mind, this rule has a dark side, because if you're gonna move at the speed of light, you have to accept something that most people spend their whole lives running from. And that's lesson number 5. Pain and suffering is the superpower that you don't want. This next philosophy is brutal, and honestly, it's the one that founders need to hear the most. Jensen says this over and over to NVIDIA staff and mentees. He says, I hope suffering happens to you. Harsh. And that's not because he wants to hurt you, but because he understands what it does to a person. He says that greatness doesn't come from comfort. Character doesn't come from winning streaks. Real endurance, the kind that keeps you alive when everything collapses, that's the rarest edge a founder can have. And here's the truth that no one likes hearing. This superpower isn't about being the smartest guy in the room. It's being the one who can suffer the longest without folding. Most entrepreneurs fold the moment things get uncomfortable. Your funding could dry up, or maybe your key hire like a CTO quits, or the product cracks in half when you're shipping it, or the market changes, and then they just implode. But the ones who actually win and make it to the top, they read pain differently. It's a setback, not a stop sign. It's a signal. And that's the difference. Suffering isn't punishment, according to Jensen. It's a sharpening tool. If you're trying to avoid pain, you're avoiding transformation, is what he teaches. And I promise you, your competitors won't do that. So here's the real mystery everyone wonders about. How does he spot a $1 trillion shift before anyone else does? And that's lesson number 6, your hidden radar. Most founders try to run their company from the top to the bottom, like they're sitting on some throne looking down at everyone else like they're Zeus on Mount Olympia. He doesn't play that game. Jensen manages the edge where the real signals are. Elon Musk does the same thing, and here's how it works. Every single person in the company, whether it be engineers, sales reps, or whoever, They send him a weekly email called Top 5 Things. Just 5 quick points, what they're seeing, what's weird, what's breaking, and what's changing. He reads hundreds and thousands of these, he says, every day and every week. Isn't that crazy for someone at the top of his level like that? That's because trillion-dollar opportunities don't just show up in boardrooms. They show up as tiny cracks that most people overlook. It could be a bizarre customer complaint that gives you an insight, or it could be a strange pattern in the data when you're meeting with your CIO, or an odd request that just doesn't fit. That's how Jensen spotted AI all the way back in 2002. When everyone else thought GPUs were just for video games, he saw opportunities for machine learning, which later evolved into AI. That's how he got ahead of the trend. So what does that mean for you running a small business? It means you can't hide behind dashboards and assumptions. You need to be talking to your customers constantly. You got to start reading support tickets. Watch how people actually behave when they're not incentivized to do so. Pay attention to the tiny, weird details that everyone else ignores. That's where the secret sauce is. But here's the part that most people miss. Jensen doesn't just wait for the opportunity to reveal itself. He goes after it. And that's lesson number 7. Swarm your greatest opportunity. When he sees an opportunity, he doesn't tiptoe into it. He doesn't run an experiment. He goes straight to war and he invades. Inside NVIDIA, they have one rule for this. They call it swarm your biggest opportunity. Not glance at it, not keep an eye on it, but swarm it until the world has no choice but to notice. So when it became clear that GPUs could supercharge machine learning, he didn't wait for permission to enter that market. He didn't wait to get some validation in terms of revenue or financials. He rewired the entire company around that idea. The margins actually took a hit. Investors hated it. They usually do, by the way. But he pushed anyways, and he got GPUs into universities. He taught people how to use CUDA, and basically said, if no one understands this yet, fine, I'll teach everyone myself. He wasn't fighting for a piece of the market. He built the whole market from zero. And here's the shift that you've got to make right now. Most founders live their whole lives trying to compete, but real founders create the thing that everyone else ends up competing over. So let's talk about your opportunity, because it's not going to be subtle. It's going to be staring you in the face. AI is moving at light speed. Automation is becoming dirt cheap, just like intelligence is. Digital leverage is everywhere you look. Distribution on platforms like YouTube or Instagram are giving you reach for free like it's oxygen. As long as you have something of value to post, you have access to reach. So this is your moment. And here's the truth. High output creators are eating low output founders alive. And honestly, right now you have no excuse. All these tools are free. The reach is insane. The gates are wide open. The only missing variable is you being consistent. Jensen didn't build NVIDIA because he was born with some superhuman gene. The guy was working at Denny's. He built it because he was willing to suffer longer, in his own words, think clearer, and move faster than everyone else around him. And you can choose that same path right now, whether you're a solo founder, whether you've got under a dozen employees, or you've got hundreds. So here's the move. If you want a company that never gets soft or replaced, and if you want to operate the speed of light like NVIDIA, then you've got to spot opportunities before everyone else even wakes up. There's 7 lessons here that are the playbook. If you want to spot massive opportunities in your industry, take Jensen Huang's 7 rules and run with them like it's your playbook. And if this video resonated with you, crush that subscribe button right now. You're gonna be joining the most ambitious community on YouTube. And then you can jump to my next video by clicking right here, and I'll see you in the trenches.